want to welcome everyone to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. My name is Jerry Shockey. I oversee all the educational programs here, and we are pleased to have all our groups be present here today. I know many of you braved the weather. Our folks and friends in Michigan, it's -5, and we had about 6 or 7 schools actually cancel out, ranging from too much snow to, I think, the folks in Wisconsin got -25 in their area of Wisconsin. So appreciate all of you braving the weather and being here today. But what I thought we would do, and just a reminder for all the groups to make sure, please keep your mics muted throughout the program, and we'll call upon you when we're ready. I'd like to do a roll call of all the groups, and as I do that roll call, just to make sure you're all present, at that time when I call upon your school, if you guys can give me a cheer or show some school spirit, whatever it is, give a yell, whatever you're able to do in your classrooms or auditorium, just to really let us know that you're here, because we want to thank you, your teachers, your tech coordinators, all the folks that helped make this possible for you guys here to connect here today. So without further, let's hear from our friends at New Options Alternative High School. You can unmute your mic. Allendale, Michigan, are you there? That was pretty weak there, Michigan. We'll come back to you maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Go ahead and mute your mics there in Michigan. Let's go to New Jersey and our friends at Technology High School. Okay, all right. Thank you, Technology. And you guys, if you guys can all make sure to mute your mics, please. Thank you. Let's go to right down the hallway from my Floyd at Rainier High School. Let's go to the small room. Do we have about 10 or 15 students in there? If you guys can say hello. Okay, all right, thank you. Appreciate you guys being there. Go ahead and mute your mics there. Let's go to Texas. Irma Marsh Middle School, are you there? Okay, I think they're winning so far. Thank you, Irma Marsh. And let's stay in the state of Texas. And let's see his secondary school there in Flatonia.
Hello.
Okay. Okay. We'll have you guys keep your mics muted throughout. I see you're still getting the feedback, but we just wanted to at least say hello to you guys. You'll be joining in as a view-only school. And then let's also say hello to our friends at Spotsylvania, Virginia. Post Oak Middle School, are you there? They've got an auditorium full there. Thank you, Post Oaks. And last but definitely not least, there is an auditorium at that school. They have 3 different systems set up at Seattle Public Schools and Rainier High School. Let's go to the auditorium at Rainier High School. Are you there? No? Okay. All right. Well, maybe they'll get connected here in just a moment. I see they're connected. Maybe they're just maybe a little bashful in Seattle. So I want to say thank you for all these schools again for making this possible.
Now.
Okay. Thank you. I like that. I just go like this and mute the mics right like that. That's perfect. So I want to thank you guys for connecting here today. Before we get started in the program, there's definitely some folks that we have to thank because without them, this would not have been possible. First of all, Seattle Public Schools, Rainier High School, their AD, Tim Bursey. I'm probably mispronouncing his name, but I don't think he's there today, so he won't know, so nobody tell him that. But I want to say thank you to you guys. They're the ones hosting Floyd, and without them, they would not been this would not have been possible. As always, we'd like to thank our friends at Tamberg, now part of Cisco. They actually brought equipment to the school, set it up, 3 different rooms. They have 3 different video conferencing systems going at that school. So Vladi and Marcello and Kirsten and all the folks there, we want to say thank you for making this possible here today. And as always, our friends in Columbus, Ohio, E-Tech, Ohio, many of the schools have called them. They're the ones that are troubleshooting, doing all the bridging for all this. Aaron, Derek, and all the folks there, Michelle, I want to say thank you for all your help, as you guys always do with all of us content providers and schools in the state of Ohio. Again, just want to thank everyone for being here, and obviously the star of the show, we want to thank Hall of Famer Floyd Little for being part of this program. Titled heart of a Hall of Famer. Now, really the concept behind this, we started this back in May of last year, and we've now had about 8 or 10 Hall of Famers participating in this, connected to probably about 30 states now and thousands of students. The idea behind Heart of a Hall of Famer is really to focus on what it took to get into the Hall of Fame beyond just the athletics. We know that these Hall of Famers are Hall of Famers, or their God-given talent was, obviously pro football, which helped them achieve, this recognition of getting in here. But it took more than that, because at the core of their success are their character qualities. Those 6 pillars that hopefully you guys have been studying: the trustworthiness, respect, caring, citizenship, fairness, all those. That's really at the core of who they are. Because one thing that could be said, and most of them, this is the case, again, if their God-given ability wasn't in professional football, they would have excelled in other areas, whether they were the best plumbers or pastors or teachers or carpenters or whatever it might have been. And the gentleman that you have here today to speak with you guys is an example of someone who's had just as much success, if not even more success, off the field as he has on the field. And that gentleman is Pro Football Hall of Famer Floyd Little. And let me give you guys a little information about Floyd, just so you guys know a little bit more about him. Floyd D. Little hails from New Haven, Connecticut, and from birth, second best was a condition he was not comfortable with. And I think it's important, this first 2 sentences, to really pay attention, because I think it's exactly what we're talking about here. Armed with sincerity, honesty, and the 5 basic ingredients for success: drive, determination, dedication, commitment, and sacrifice, Floyd set out on a path less traveled. Little was drafted in 1967 by the Denver Broncos, where he toiled for 9 rugged years as a leading rusher. He led as the team's career rusher with 6,323 yards and 1,641 attempts, and he scored 43 touchdowns during his career. Little was recognized as a 3-time All-American player and twice won the American Football League rushing title. Little's legendary number 44, was retired both at Syracuse University, where he attended school, and at the Denver Broncos. Now, in 2010, just this past year, these past induction ceremonies, Mr. Little was bestowed with the greatest honor, the individual honor that a player in professional football can achieve, being inducted here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. In his later years of professional football, his pursuit of excellence continued. He graduated from the University of Denver College of Law in 1975. Upon retirement from the Denver Broncos in '76, Little could be seen on NBC Sports as a TV commentator. Currently residing in the state of Washington, he's a former president and owner of Pacific Coast Ford, which became a private capital dealership in 1996. He was known as one of the most successful and well-respected Ford dealers in the industry. Ford Motor Company has solicited his assistance as a consultant and instructor for its minority dealers program, dealer development area. He has assisted numerous dealers nationwide, including the training and installation of the first African-American female dealer in Taft, California in 1986. Floyd retired as a proud Ford dealer in December of 2009, so not too long ago. He just retired, and at that time was the oldest tenured minority dealer in the Ford portfolio. Beyond just his work on the field and off the field, he's had various community service awards, the YMCA Brian Piccolo Award, the Distinguished American Award for Community Service presented by the Connecticut Hall of Fame. He was presented with the American Jewish Community Appeal for Human Relations Citation in recognition, now get this, because I think this really summarizes what Floyd's about, in recognition of the outstanding contributions Little made towards the betterment of man and his community. Today, Floyd is traveling the country as a popular and sought-after public speaker for touchdown presentations, and as well as the National Football League, and obviously here with the folks here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. In his spare time, he actively participates and supports numerous charitable events around the country. In addition to all of his attributes, Floyd is a family man. He's married in April 2003 to Syracuse native Deborah A. Green, and has 2 daughters, Christy and Kyra, and a son, Mark, as well as 4 grandchildren, AJ, Sky, Blaze, and Hayes. Before I have you guys unmute your mics and give them a warm introduction, what I would like to do is switch the inputs here and let you guys see a little clip of his playing career.
It could be argued that without Floyd Little, there would be no Denver Broncos. In 1967, Little became the first #1 pick to ever sign with Denver, and his success and popularity sparked interest in the team. and prevented the relocation of the franchise. From 1968 to 1973, nobody in pro football rushed for more yards or had more yards from scrimmage than Floyd Little. He made the Pro Bowl 5 times in his 9-year career. And when he retired, he was the 7th leading rusher in NFL history.
Okay, if all the schools for the time being could unmute your mics, and please join me in giving a round of applause for Hall of Famer Floyd Little.
Thank you, Jerry.
Last all the viewers, if you can have your mics muted now. And Mr. Little, we'll have you with your opening remarks.
Well, thank you, Jerry. When you asked me if I would consider being a part of this Heart of a Hall of Fame series sponsored by Pro Football Hall of Fame, I jumped at the opportunity because, I can remember being where these young people are today. And I used to often wonder, what did life have in store for me? And I learned very quickly, it's not about what life has in store for you, it's about what you are willing to do to create legacy that will become your life. And when I had this opportunity to come and talk with these young people, I wanted to do that because I know everybody out there want to win, everybody out there want to succeed, and everybody out there want to be a champion. But being a champion and winning and being successful doesn't come easy. There's a price that you have to pay. There's an investment that you'll have to make. And I just want to share with people, if you want to be the best, you got to hang out with the best. If you want to be a better student and get better grades, you got to hang out with students who are smarter than you are. If you want to be a better athlete, you got to hang out with athletes that's got better skills than you have. Smart people tend to surround themselves with people who are smarter than they are, and they learn from them. And that's the thing that I feel is most important. As a professional football player and a student athlete who have achieved the highest level of success in the National Football League, it took great courage, a positive attitude, and a commitment to win. And these are the things that I have learned as I travel, that I don't care where you are or what you do, in order to succeed in life, there's a tremendous amount of commitment that you have to make. And I just need everybody to know that. Because as a student athlete, it took a lot of courage. And I've learned as I've traveled around this country that knowledge through education is an ongoing process that never ends. What you achieve in life will be directly related to what you have in your mind. So I want to encourage everybody to continue to study and continue to learning and continue challenging yourself, because none of us will ever know what we can become if we never challenge ourselves. If I didn't challenge myself, I would have never been the 257th Pro Football Hall of Famer in NFL history. If I had listened to those who said I wasn't big enough, strong enough, fast enough, or smart enough, I would have never challenged myself to play football, basketball, or run track. I mean, these are the things that I think are most important. I would never develop the 6 characters, the 6 pillars of character that's allowed me to be here today. Jerry, if the trustworthiness, the caring, the respect, responsibility, the citizenship, the fairness, these are all the qualities that I've learned as a young man that's allowed me to challenge myself and be able to be here today as the 257th Pro Football Hall of Famer in Hall of Fame history, and they told me I couldn't do it. So I just want to encourage people, don't listen to the negative people in your life. Don't listen to the naysayers. Challenge yourself every day. It's up to you. Every one of us have it within us to be successful, but we have to choose to be successful. We may have to take the road that is less traveled, because in life you're either saying hello or you're saying goodbye. If you ain't on the way, you'll be in the way. So that's the kind of thing that I wanted to share with you today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Little. And just to give you guys an idea, he said 257th. We have a total of 260 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. To give you an idea of how big of an honor that is, there have been, since the NFL started in 1920, started here in Canton, Ohio, one of the reasons why the Hall of Fame's here. Since 1920, there have been over 20,000 players that have suited up in the National Football League. And out of our 260, only about 220 or 230 are actually players. The rest are coaches and administrators. So that gives you an idea of how big of an honor it is to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And with that presents a wonderful opportunity for you guys today to really learn from one of the great people in our country. I mean, you talk about the running backs in the National Football League today. Whoever you consider the best, whether it's the Adrian Petersons or LaDainian Tomlinson or Chris Johnson, whoever it might be, they aspire to be in his shoes someday and be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I guess they probably aspire to be his shoes off the field as well because of his successes and his commitment to the betterment of mankind and his community. So with that being said, what we're going to do here today, and we'll ask all the groups to keep their mics muted, but we're going to rotate through. You guys are all going to have the opportunity for the next 45 minutes to ask those questions. I know many of you have been able to prepare them, questions in advance to ask Mr. Little. We're going to work in the order and keep this in mind, just so you know the order on down as we go through, and we'll rotate through as many times as we can. We'll start with new options, and we'll get to you guys in just a minute. The folks in Michigan. We will then go to technology in New Jersey. We will then go to the Rainier High School, the small room, for questions from them. We'll go to Irma Marsh in Texas, and we will then go to Post Oak Middle School in Virginia. So that'll be the order of the questions. Every group will get to ask 2 questions, and we'll rotate through as many times as we can. And I really want to encourage you guys to really think of those thought-provoking questions. Whatever's on your heart. Floyd's a very open guy. Feel free to ask those questions that you want to ask about how to become successful, whatever's on your heart. I encourage you to do so. With that being said, I'm gonna shut up here in Canton, Ohio, because we've got want to make sure to have plenty of time for you guys. So let's new options in Michigan. Go ahead and unmute your mics if you have your questions ready. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Devin Gibson from Allendale, Michigan, and just want to know how it feels to be recognized as like an idol in the world of music.
And we're getting a little background noise, and you have to speak up just a little bit too. So go ahead. Can you repeat that question?
Repeat it.
How does it feel to be recognized as an idol around the world for all kinds of people?
Well, I tell you what, it's been great. This has been a great year for me, being recognized as one of the best football players ever to play. And there's a responsibility, though, that when you are recognized as one who has achieved a level of success, that you have to carry yourself in such a way as a role model. So you have to really understand your role as a person that's respected and is given that honor. It's a great feeling, but it is a responsibility that goes with it. You just can't be the willy-nilly person. You have to carry yourself with high honor and high esteem, and you have to also want to give back to those who are less fortunate. I mean, that's one of the 6 characters or 6 pillars of character. That caring and giving is one of the things that you have to now consider as a Hall of Famer or as a person who's recognized as what we call a hero today.
Thank you.
Go ahead with your next new options.
Right there. Go ahead.
Call me big.
Okay, my question is, out of all of the amazing things that you've done with your life, where did you find the inspiration to do what you have done? Where did you find the strength to go as far as you did?
Well, that's a good question, because that's one of my favorite things to talk about. And that is, as a young person, I didn't allow someone else's opinion of me to define who I am. I had always been told as a youngster that I wasn't big enough, smart enough, strong enough, or fast enough. That was the inspiration for me, being told that I couldn't do something. I mean, we are the only people who can limit ourselves. Someone else can't limit what we can do. And when we continue to listen to those that say we can't, then we fall into having their opinion of us become our reality. I mean, I was always told I couldn't do it. It's up to me to decide if I can or not. We all have the qualities within us to be successful. We just have to learn how to tap into those qualities and decide what we want to do and pursue it and never quit.
Okay, thank you, Allendale, Michigan. Let's go to New Jersey. Technology High School, are you there?
Yes. Yeah, we're here.
Go ahead with your questions.
Um, what, in your opinion, what do you think distinguishes you from other football players?
Oh, that's a good question. In my opinion, what distinguishes me from other football players? Well, I had to compete at a level that, in my opinion, was very challenging for me because I may not have been gifted with all of the skill levels and abilities that a lot of people have. But I was gifted with a gift that had a deep-rooted determination to never quit. I was probably one of the strongest guys on my football team, and I was the smallest guy on the football team. So those are the things that I had to learn and take the strength that I had to become the best football player I can be.
Okay, and just a reminder for all the sites that are connected to make sure to keep your mics muted, and even those that are asking the questions, maybe in between those questions, make sure to mute the mics just that way we can avoid that background noise. Go ahead, Technology, with the second one.
Second question, which one would you like? Go ahead. Are you at one?
All right.
He left.
How do you want your recognition to impact communities?
How do I want my recognition to impact communities? I think it has. The fact that I was a person that come out of a community that was challenging and was less fortunate. Those that's a part of that community see me as a person that they can aspire to be like. So the impact that I'm able to make in my community is that one that was in that situation and had found a way out. Now I can go back into that community and help train, teach, and mentor others to have the ability and the desire and the opportunity to be better than that they are, and to strive to be better as people and as athletes, and be a role model.
And for those of you that maybe heard in the video, you know, he definitely impacted a couple communities. Number one, the Broncos, Denver may not have had a team in Denver if it wasn't for the gentleman that you are talking to, and you know how important the National Football League teams are to their communities. And Mr. Little, there's a Floyd Little Day in your home. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, there've been a couple. There's been a Floyd Little Day here in Federal Way, where I currently live. There's been a Floyd Little Day in Denver, which is great. And I just found out a couple days ago that they're going to name the athletic center in New Haven, Connecticut, where I went to school, Hill House High School, as the Floyd Little Athletic Center. So not only have I had a couple of days, I'm getting an athletic center named after me. So, and it's enjoyable to go back and surround myself with all of the young people in the community that I continue to work with through Youth Lifeline America, where we go out and we help young people become better people by teaching them life skills. So this is it's been challenging for me, but it's also been gratifying that I'm able to really, really mentor, help people who probably think that they could not have made it. But when they look at me as an example, to see that I was able to overcome all of the obstacles that was in my way, and how did you do it? By just persevering every day and believing that I can do it and striving to be the best that I can be. That's an ongoing, everyday challenge for me, is to be the best that I can be.
All right, well, thank you, Technology. Let's go to the room right down the hallway, the small gathering of students there at Rainier High School. If you guys have a couple of questions for Mr. Little there, go ahead.
Okay, first question we have is, what things did you have to sacrifice to be where you are today, and was it hard?
Well, no. I had to sacrifice negative friends, negative habits, negative behavior, procrastination, and anything else that would prevent me from realizing everything that I wanted for me. I mean, I didn't want to be influenced by those who didn't want to be positive. They didn't want to plant themselves. They didn't want to grow. They didn't want to be any better than that they are. I wanted to be the best that I can be. In order for me to to do that, I had to make sacrifices. And those sacrifices was not to hang around with people that wasn't going anywhere, not to hang around with people that didn't want to go to college and want to better themselves, the people that would procrastinate and never show up, the people that was always late. I could not afford to hang with those people. I had to be with people that were smarter than me, people that wanted to be better in life, people that wanted to aspire to be the best that they can be. Those are the sacrifices I had to make as a youngster, is to hang around people that were smarter than I was, so I can learn from them and be a credit to my family and create the legacy that I wanted for my life and my family. So they were sacrifices, but in my opinion, they weren't great sacrifices, because I wanted to be somebody when I grew up. I didn't want to be around the neighborhood with the same people that was there 10 years ago. They're still there today. I was told that it's better to attempt to do something great and fail than to attempt to do nothing and succeed. It's better to attempt to do something great and fail than to attempt to do nothing and succeed. And we all know a lot of people that attempt to do nothing every day and succeeding at it. So I encourage you to keep studying, keep challenging yourself, keep learning, and always try to be the best that you can be. That's a good question. I like that one.
I think those are words to live by that he repeated twice. So everybody take notes. I have my notebook right in front of me here, and I'm taking notes. Go ahead. Second question.
Out of the 6 pillars of character, which do you believe are most important and why?
Out of the 6 pillars of character, my favorite is trustworthiness, because it encompasses integrity, honesty, loyalty, and these are the things that I think is important to me. Integrity is really, really something that's significant. I mean, if you are a person of integrity, it speaks volumes about who you are. So when I look at the 6 pillars and look at the one that defines me, that's trustworthiness, because it encompasses all of the qualities that you will need to have to be a great person in life, to be a great mentor in life, and to succeed in life. Success isn't easy. It just doesn't happen on its own. There's a price to pay. If you want to be the best that you can be, you got to be willing to make some sacrifices along the way. That's a good one.
Okay, thank you there at Rainier High School. Let's go to Texas now. Irma Marsh, are you in Fort Worth? Are you there? Go ahead with your questions if you are.
Yes, we're here. Yeah. Go ahead, Sky.
How would you suggest I handle negative peer pressure?
Well, I tell you what, I mean, that's something that happens on a regular. You have to make the decision as to who you are and what you want to be, and you can't let anybody else define who you are. And I know it's a constant, continuous thing with people in school. There's a lot of people that are, you just have to surround yourself with positive people, and you can't allow negative peer pressure to influence you. Now, there's also good, positive peer pressure. I mean, it's just not always negative. You got to find those people that's going to influence you in a positive way. And you need to surround yourself with that group of people and not allow the negative people to influence you in a negative way. And you have to decide the kind of person you want to be. You have to decide the commitment you want to make to you. You have to decide how high you want to go or how smart you want to be. Like I said, if you want to be the best, you got to hang out with the best. If you want to get better grades, you got to hang out with students that are smarter than you are. And I think that in trying to handle negative peer pressure, you just try to avoid those people the best you can.
Go ahead with another there, Fort Worth.
Josh, nice. Good.
I'm kind of a small person, and I want to play football whenever I grow up, but big people say that I'm too small.
Well, you're talking to the 257th Pro Football Hall of Famer that they said the same thing about me. They said I wasn't big enough, I wasn't strong enough, I wasn't fast enough. But you can't allow someone else's label or opinion of you to define who you are. If that's what you want to do, and if you want to be able to play in the National Football League, you have to know that you can do it regardless of how high you are, how tall you are, how smart you are. You have to decide for yourself. If you want to play, you can play. I was considered a small football player, and look at me. I mean, I was 180 pounds in high school, 190 pounds in college and in the professional football, and I was able to make it. So if you really want to, you find a way to make it. There's some players playing today that are small players by the standards of the National Football League, but they still play. There was a guy named Elvis Dumervil who plays for the Denver Broncos. I got a chance to meet him this year. He was one of the best linebackers in the National Football League in his first year. And when I met him in Denver this year, he's shorter than I am. He's a linebacker. He's 215 pounds playing a linebacker against guys 300 pounds. But he was the best linebacker in the National Football League a year ago. He hurt his pectoral muscle this year and didn't play. But I got to tell you, I was really, really impressed with him when I met him because he was smaller than I was, and he was a terror on the football field. And there's a lot of players today in the National Football League that are not big compared to a lot of the others. So if you want to be a football player and you want to play at the highest level, then you commit to doing it, and it can happen if you want it to happen.
Great point. I mean, look in the NFL, there's a guy by the name of Danny Woodhead with the Patriots that I think is a buck 85, soaking wet. Darren Sproles. The list goes on of some of the smaller guys in the National Football League that have chosen not to be held back by that to achieve great success. Obviously, just making it in the National Football League is it's few and far between to get that recognition. So let's go to, let's see who's next. We've got Post Oak Middle School, all the way in Virginia.
What are some examples of times that you've had to persevere through adversity?
Well, I tell you what, that's on a daily basis. Adversity is always there, and you just have to know how to challenge yourself every day. It's something that you have to learn to do. Adversity is always there to something that's in your way that you have to figure out how to get around it. You have to commit to be the best that you can be. You have to continue to strive for excellence. You have to continue to strive to be the best that you can be. And every day you have to be understanding that you are creating a legacy that will become your life and what you will leave when you leave. So don't allow adversity to stand in your way. If there's something that you want to do, if there's something that you want to accomplish, I know when I was trying to go to college, I had to take the SAT exam, as you all will if you want to go to college. I failed the SAT exams the first 4 or 5 times I took it. It was only the 5th time that I took it that I was able to get a high enough grade to go to college. So don't allow those things that in your way to stop you from where you want to go. There's always opportunity if you continue to strive to be the best, and don't allow adversity to be something that you say, well, they got the fence in front of me so I can't go that way. No, climb over the fence if necessary.
Okay, go ahead with another one there, Post Oak, and then we'll go back to the top at new options, so start thinking of your questions.
How did putting effort into your education help you in your football career and in business?
Well, that's a good question. If you want to be the best, I tell you, it's challenging, but it's helped me along the way because I had to spend countless hours in studying. I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. I wasn't the smartest person in class, but I had the positive attitude. And you don't have to be that smart if you got a good attitude and you're willing to do the work. I spent a lot of time, extra time, trying to be the best that I can be. So I invested in me, in what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be, and I studied long and hard just to be an average student. So if you're willing to put in the time and you're willing to put in the effort, then you can make whatever life that you are.
And I think that's important to know, because we're not always, in your your quest for success, you're not always going to go on to a Hall of Fame career. You're not always going to get an A on the test. But it's the work that you put in to get that's the real reward. And I'll give you an example. As an employer here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, if I'm hiring someone, if someone has a 4.0 grade average but didn't work very hard to achieve that, kind of floated through, and compared to someone who maybe only got a 3.2 but busted his or her tail to get that 3.2 and showed that hard work and dedication and determination, I'm leaning towards the 3.2 student that busted his or her tail to do that. So, and that's just from an employer standpoint. So great comment, great question. Let's go back to the top. Allendale, you guys got a couple more? Go ahead.
What do you think, or who was who had the biggest helping hand when it came to shaping your character in your life?
Well, there were several people. I lived in New Haven. I'm from Connecticut. And some of the people that played for the Celtics back in the day, way before your time, guys like Casey Jones and Bill Russell and people like that, they used to come through, which we wasn't that far from Boston, and they used to have an opportunity to talk to us as young people in the community center. And I watched Sam Jones and Casey Jones and Bill Russell as they would come to us as champions, as basketball players. They've shared with me that there's opportunity out there if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to make the sacrifices, if you're willing to be different, if you're willing to take that road that is less traveled. Because it's difficult when you grow up in an area that I grew up in, and people are always doubting your skill levels, doubting your ability. Even my brother told me that I wasn't going to college, that I could never make it. And by being told that every day, that was the motivation for me to let people know that I'm the only one that can tap out for me. I'm the only one that said I can't. I'm not giving that power away to anybody. And these people shared with me, and I remember today, that Floyd, you are a person with the qualities that you can make it in anything you want to do, but there's sacrifices you have to make. There's commitments that you have to make. And you have to give up on those negative people that are around you. You have to give up on some of these things if you want to be the best. And I had to give that up. I had to put that aside, and I had to surround myself with positive people on a daily basis, and I learned from them, and I was able to get a scholarship to a military school. And then I had 47 scholarships after going to military school to college. And I don't know if you saw the movie The Express, but Jim Brown recruited Ernie Davis, who was the first African-American to win the Heisman, and Ernie Davis came to recruit me. And as a result of that trilogy, I became an All-American at Syracuse, retired our jerseys, and went on from there. But I had to separate myself from those people that was attempting to do nothing on a daily basis. And I had to find a way to get myself in with people that were growing, that wanted to be somebody. But that's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great question. Go ahead with another one there.
Did you get looked down on at Syracuse like Jim and Ernie did? And if you did, how did you get past that?
Well, I think Jim Brown recruited Ernie, if you saw the movie, and it was challenging in those days. There was not a lot of African Americans at Syracuse. But Ernie paved the way for me. The coach and I became a lot closer than the coach and Ernie was. And they didn't look down on me because they considered me a part of a legacy that Syracuse had started with running backs. And after me, I played with the coach of the Giants, Tom Coughlin, and another Hall of Famer in Larry Zonka. So they were my classmates, and they looked at me as one who was the leader. I was the captain of the football team. And so there was not a lot of people who looked down on me, and I was a good student. And I worked hard, and I was a good example. I was a good role model. So I didn't have the challenges that Ernie had or Jim Brown had. Time had changed to where we were more accepted, and I was treated as an equal at that time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, New Options. Let's go back to New Jersey, our friends at Technology High School. Go ahead.
What was your proudest moment during your career?
Well, what was my proudest? Oh God, I mean, I've had a lot of great moments. I think one of the things when I had a Floyd Little Day, everybody came out and they donated money, they donated a car, they donated a boat, of which I gave to the local Boys and Girls Club. All of the proceeds went to that. I was able to take all of those things from that day. I had a proclamation from the governor, a proclamation from the president, a proclamation from the mayor, honoring me on that day. That was a real proud moment for me. But the proudest moment for me was being inducted into Pro Football Hall of Fame last August, where I was able to celebrate with my son and my 2 daughters and my 3 sisters. Those were proud moments for me.
And it should be noted, during his induction, a certain vice president of our country, Joe Biden, actually did a video, a congratulations video. So when the vice president of our country is saying congratulations, Floyd Little, that speaks volumes for Floyd as well. So,
but Jerry, a lot of people don't know, but I went to school with Joe. Yep. Joe was a Syracuse guy, and I used to hang out with the vice president. And recently, he invited me back to the White House, where he gave me a personal tour. So I had a personal tour of the White House by Joe Biden, which is never done, the vice president giving you a tour of the White House. So that was a great moment for me, along with the Hall of Fame induction, being given a tour of the White House by the vice president of the United States was second on the list.
Let's go ahead. Another question, Technology. Good question.
How were you initially introduced to football? Was it something that was popular in your neighborhood, or is it something that you went and sought out for yourself?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. I was not a football player. I was a baseball player, and I was a pretty good baseball player. Played center field in 6th and 7th grade and 8th and 9th grade. Nobody would pitch to me because if I got on base, I would steal all of the bases. I was pretty fast. But I moved from one end of Connecticut to another, and a kid named Al Rogers said that they were playing football, sandlot football, and would I like to join them? So that's how I got introduced to football. I went out in the park with a bunch of kids in the neighborhood and started playing football. I was playing on the line, but I was too fast for the backs to follow me. Then they put me as a wide receiver, and I ran too fast for them to throw the ball to me. So then they says, well, in order for you to play, we're going to have to give you the ball in the backfield. And that's how I started playing football. I was faster than anybody, and I was able to score almost every time I got the ball. And a lot of people saw me from the high schools, and they wanted me to come to their high school. And I finally went to Hill House High School, which I mentioned that they're now naming the sports center after me sometime this year to be Floyd Little Athletic Center at the high school that I went to. So I was introduced by a guy named Al Rogers to football. I knew nothing about football. I was a baseball player, and I learned to play football when I was in ninth grade, 9th or 10th grade. Good question, though.
Thank you, Technology. And let's go to the room at Rainier Beach High School in Seattle. Go ahead with your questions.
Was playing professional football always one of your top goals, or did you have any other career options you wanted to pursue?
Well, that's a good question. Playing professional football was an option for me because I went to school on an academic scholarship. So I went to school because I wasn't very big, and but I wanted to play football. But I went to law school. I went to school to be a lawyer. So I went to law school while I played for the Broncos. I went to night school for 4 years to be a lawyer. So I wanted to prepare myself for the years after. If I didn't make it on the football team, I needed options. We all need options. There's things that we want to do that we can't do. So you always have to have options. So my option was that if I didn't make it in the National Football League as the first round draft choice in the history of the Broncos, to ever sign, that I would become a lawyer. And I went to law school to become a lawyer, and but the football worked out for me. So, but I was a pretty good basketball player at 5'10". I had a 43-inch vertical jump. I was a high jumper. Before anybody jumped 7 feet, I jumped 6'9", 6'10". So I'm a pretty good athlete with a lot of opportunity and a lot of options in life. But playing football was just one of the options, and that wasn't what I was designed to do or be. It just happened to work out for me.
And I think that's, I'll use Floyd's quote. He said he wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. Is that what you used?
Exactly.
And to have the aspirations to go on to law school. I mean, that's just, again, speaks to what he's been talking about. Is he set his bar high and wasn't going to let any limitations get in his way. So it's great points. Let's go to the second question, Rainier Beach.
Do you feel that you ever took on any more leadership roles than you could handle?
Did I ever? Well, I'll tell you what. I went to military school, as I said, and I was a captain of the football team, basketball, and track team. Those are roles that are challenging. When I left military school, I went to Syracuse, where I was a captain of the Orangemen. And when I left Syracuse, I captained the Denver Broncos all 9 seasons as a professional football player. And there's nobody in the history of professional football that captained their football team as a rookie. I did. And those leadership roles was challenging because I had to be the best that I can be every day. I didn't have time to take a day off or take a break. I had to be that leader every day, and I didn't want to be that leader every day. But everybody looked to me for leadership, and I had to display that on a daily basis. So I didn't have time to take a day off. I had to continue to be the leader that everybody wanted me to be and I needed to be. And it was great. That was a great role for me. I enjoyed being that leader, and I don't know that I've ever taken on more than I can handle as a leader. I mean, they looked at me, they voted me as their leader for a reason. They thought I had the work ethic, they thought I had the skill levels, they thought I had the determination. They wanted to aspire to be like me or wanted me to tell them where to go or when to go. And those were roles that I had to take on, and I did it, and I enjoyed doing it. And at the end of the day, I'm sitting here as a Hall of Famer, and all of that's good. All of that is good. And thank you for the question.
Thank you there in Seattle, right down the hallway from him. Let's go to Fort Worth, Texas again. Irma Marsh. You got a couple more questions? Go ahead.
Jake.
When you get mad or upset playing football, how do you control it?
Well, I tell you, I have gotten mad many times, and I've gotten a few penalties. It's pretty tough to control anger, but you have to try to figure out how to count 10 times before you respond. I've had guys take shots at me that were illegal shots and tried to hurt me, and a couple of them did. But you can't let that anger in you define you. You have to be able to control that. And yeah, there's plenty of times where I was not able to, but for the most part, I'm not perfect. I was able to control the anger that someone did something to me that was illegal or not necessary. But we all have times and periods of our life where we get angry. But you got to figure out how to manage that anger the best way you can, and count 10 times before you respond. And a lot of times you would make the right decision.
Go ahead with the other one, Irma Marsh.
Okay, go Sky.
How do you control your emotions during like the game? Are they happy?
Isn't that what he just said?
No, well, he's talking about anger. Now it's emotions. Well, I'm a pretty emotional person.
Like if you lose a game.
Oh, well, no, I'll cry like anybody else. I mean, I don't like to lose, but that's a part of winning. Losing is a part of winning. And if anybody enjoys losing, I got a problem with that. But my emotions are kind of well hidden. I mean, I don't display them openly a lot of times. I mean, I will go into the bathroom, or if I didn't perform up to my expectations, I would have a talk with myself and ask myself to be better the next time. But from an emotional standpoint, I'm a very emotional person. I'm a Cancer. I was born July the 4th, which is a Cancer, and I'm an emotional person. So it's hard to control my emotions. So privately, I've had to step away and cry to myself if necessary. But I don't have a problem with showing my emotion or my emotions. But those are tough to do. But there's ways that you can control your emotions.
Okay, let's go to Post Oak Middle School again in Spotsylvania, Virginia.
What was the hardest part in getting to the Hall of Fame, and how did you overcome it?
Oh boy, it took 30 plus years for me to get to the Hall of Fame. I don't have a say. I don't have a vote. There were 44 voters that had to vote me into the Hall of Fame this year, and they're all writers. And I had to get a certain percentage of those writers to get in. I've only been eligible for a short period of time. I became eligible as a senior after I was out 25 years. In some way along the lines, the voters decided that I was worthy of being in the Hall of Fame this year. And the emotions of not getting in now, I can feel now for some guys that are eligible this year, guys that I know like Jerome Bettis, Curtis Martin, Marshall Faulk, Tim Brown, Charles Haley, these guys, Chris Carter. I know their emotions are running pretty high right now because they're going to make the announcement the day before the Super Bowl. But these are challenging times. They can only put so many of us in at one time. There's only 159 of us still standing. Out of 260, there's only 159 of us still standing. And I think 20 of those were contributors that didn't play. So there's actually only 130 of us. And these guys that are waiting in the wings to be Hall of Famers this year, it's a very, very emotional roller coaster for them because I experienced it a year ago. But eventually they will probably get in at some point. But it took me 30 plus years to get in. So I cannot tell you the emotions that ran through my life as I waited for them to say Floyd Little. When Stephen Perry stood up last year and said Floyd Little, I kind of rolled over because of the emotions. I couldn't hold them back because I finally had reached a level in my life that is the highest honor any athlete can get, and I'm one of them now. So, and I am very, very happy. And whatever emotions I had then, they're all gone now. I'm a Hall of Famer now, and it doesn't matter about anything else anymore. So, thank you for the question, young man.
And for those of you listening, especially the adults, the kids won't know who this is, not Steve Perry from Journey, but Steve Perry, our president and executive director of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So, let's go ahead with another one, Post Oak.
What advice can you give young people about how to develop their character?
Well, I think that is something that it's an everyday thing. I think that's a really, really good question. I think character building is something you believe in. Like he mentioned the 5 things that I think are necessary to be successful. If you have the drive, determination, dedication, and the other one is desire, and you are willing to make some commitments and some sacrifices, these are the 6 ingredients that I think everybody needs to develop the character that you will need to be successful. It's not easy, but if you are honest and you are trustworthy and you are reliable and you are caring and you are fair and you are that person that really, really want to be the best that you can be, these are the traits that you need to become a great person and build your character. And be a role model, be a leader, have people look up to you. These are all the things that helps in developing character. And if you have any of those traits at all, you just expand them to where you are a person that people look up to, where you are the person that they come to for advice, that you're the person that they want to be like, that you're the person that they want to be around. You become that person that now are mentoring other people, and you have that level of success that everybody wants. So just having those desire, drive, determination, dedication, and really commit to those, you will build a character that you need to succeed on the next level. I'm sure of that. That's how I got to the level that I've gotten to, because I had those ingredients that built a character that's helped me to become successful.
And I'm seeing we have about 8 minutes left in the program, so let's go ahead and try to do one from each of the schools. We'll start back at the top. If each school get one last question prepared, make it a good one. So let's go back up to the top. New options. Allendale, your last question.
Oh, do you consider yourself better than Ernie or Jim?
Well, no, but let me tell you that Jim Brown does. I don't consider myself better than those players. They were great players. Jim Brown, we all know, was the greatest running back in the history of the game. We all know Ernie Davis' success and never got a chance to play in the National Football League, but he was the first African-American to win the Heisman. But when they retired our jersey, they had all of the 44s there, and there's been about 6 or 7 of them. And Jim Brown was there with me, and Billy Owens, and Rob Conrad, who played for the Miami Dolphins. He's the only fullback that wore a number. There's been 6 44s at Syracuse. So when we all went back, when they retired the jersey, they asked Jim Brown to come up and speak on behalf of all of the 44s. So Jim Brown gets up there, and he gets the mic. He says, I am not the one to speak on behalf of the 44s. We've had only one 3-time All-American in Syracuse University history, and his name is Floyd Little. He should be the one, because he was the best 44 of us all. He should be the one to speak on our behalf. So that's a good question. I don't consider myself the best, but Jim Brown considers me the best 44 that Syracuse has ever had. So I'll let Jim Brown answer that question. I won't answer that question.
All right, I have one more quick question.
Okay.
What was your best 40-yard dash?
I was a 4.40 guy. But let me say this. I was 4.42 when I had to be, when somebody was chasing me. So my 40 time was depending on who was chasing me. But I ran a 4.4, 4.3. Wasn't consistent, but I was a 4.3, 4.40. But bottom line is, how fast do you have to be? You just have to be faster than that person in front of you. And nobody ever caught me, so I don't know how fast I was. But my 40 time on record for the Broncos was 4.4.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, New Options. We appreciate your questions. Let's go to New Jersey Technology. Go ahead with your last question.
What current NFL player in the league is your favorite?
What current NFL player in the National Football League is my favorite? I got to tell you, there are a whole bunch of them that are playing in the National Football League, but I'll tell you the one that's going to be my favorite is Tim Tebow. And I say that because he has all the qualities, all the characters of a leader. He's done a great job at Florida. He's a leader. He's a champion. He's a Heisman winner. He has a commitment to win. He's willing to make whatever sacrifice that is necessary. When they ask him what position to play, he would play whatever position you would ask him to play. He didn't say, I'm a quarterback and that's all I'm going to play. Tim Tebow is the kind of character, the kind of person that I look at as a person who can really make a big impact because of his personality and his attitude. So your attitude is one of the things that you have complete control over. And his attitude, to me, is the best possible attitude an athlete or a person can have. So I think Tim Tebow is my favorite football player and will be a great football player in the National Football League, in spite of what a lot of people say about his mechanics. You watch, this kid will be a great player.
And I think a lot of people share the same sentiment as Mr. Little, because Tim Tebow, even not starting this year, was the #1 jersey sold out of all the NFL players. So there's a lot of people I think that have, at least here at the Hall of Fame, he was. So I think a lot of folks have the same sentiment and enthusiasm for Tim Tebow. Thank you, technology. Let's go to Rainier Beach High School for your last question there.
What are the support systems you use throughout your life to succeed?
I didn't hear the question. Can you repeat the question?
What are the support systems you use throughout your life to succeed?
What are the support systems that I used in my life to succeed? Well, my family was a great support system. My coaches, in my Hall of Fame speech, I spoke about being a strong and angry young man, and I was kicked out of school. And because of those who cared enough about me, I was re-enrolled back in school, became the president of my class, and started my journey as a leader in all that I did. A junior high school teacher named Robert Schreck was one of the mentors for me that helped me get back in school, back on the right track. And it was people like Robert Schreck, Dan Casey, my family, my sisters, my brothers. They were the great support system for me when I was growing up. They saw the good in me, and they encouraged me to be the best that I can be. So if your family are not encouraging you, then you have to find others that believe in you to encourage you. So my support system was my coaches and my family.
And I think that's important to note. Mr. Little shared about the importance of honesty and whatnot. Not only being honest with other people, but being honest with yourself, and knowing some of the things that you might not be quite as strong at, and having that support system there to pick you up and help you with those areas, whether it's your teacher tutoring you in math, or whether it's your coach working on your 40 time. Obviously, we didn't need to work on Mr. Little's 40 time. We ran a 4.4, so maybe there are other things that had to work on, as I'm sure there are. But that's important to note. Honesty, not only with others, but obviously with yourself as well. Irma Marsh, let's go to you for your last question, and then we've got Post Oaks to end it up.
How did your life change when you left the NFL?
How did my life change when I left the NFL? I was, one of the things is that I wasn't supposed to play in the National Football League, so I was enjoying myself. The life expectancy as a running back in the National Football League when I came in the league was like 2.5 years. But I was, working at being in business when I left the NFL. My life changed, but all of those things that I had learned, I brought them into business with me. I was a Ford dealer for 32 years. I had my own franchise, and I trained dealers, I trained people. I was a part of the automobile industry for quite a number of years. So when I left the National Football League as a player, all of those things that I had acquired as a player, all of the character, all of the techniques, all of the skills, I just brought with me as a very successful dealer. That Jerry read a little bit about my life early on in my bio as one who was able to train and help other dealers across the country, and helping to install a first African-American dealer in Taft, California. Was one of my challenges that Ford Motor Company put me in charge of. And so my life only changed because I didn't have the opportunity to be with the players that I played with on a regular basis. But it didn't change much. I was able to segue into a different career and still have the confidence that I can be successful, or as successful as an athlete. So it's been pretty good for me. So it hadn't changed that much.
And as you heard, his leadership was on the field and obviously off the field as well, as he was appointed, by Ford to help lead a number of different initiatives under the Ford Motor Company. So, those leadership qualities on and off the field. Okay, Post Oaks in Virginia, you have the very last question of the program. Are you nervous?
Yes.
Post Oaks.
Go ahead.
You've stated that sometimes we have to take the road less traveled. Can you tell us more about this and why it is something we need to think about as kids?
Well, and I've had to take in the road that is less traveled, and that is you have to be a standout, and you have to not do what everybody else is doing. You have to take a different road sometimes, and those roads are sometimes challenging. I mean, you have to say no to those who would lead you in the wrong direction. You have to say no to those that would tell you you're not big enough, strong enough, or fast enough. You have to say no to a lot of people that are trying to lead you in the wrong direction. That's the road that is less traveled, because it's so easy to follow everyone else. So when you follow people, there's not a lot that you have to do. But when you go in a different direction, a lot of times you're on your own, and you have to go places by yourself because you're not with a crowd. So I had to take the road that was less traveled, and I had to understand that I wasn't going to be the most popular person. I wasn't going to have a lot of friends. But it wasn't about friends for me. It was about getting to the next level in life where I can succeed. So taking that road that is less traveled allowed me to go.
The conference is about to end.
Where I didn't have to follow anybody else. I had to make the road for myself and not follow somebody else's path. But I had to make the road for myself. And by doing that, I was able to reach the level of success that I'm comfortable with today, and I'm happy about. So that's the road that's less traveled.
And that's our 5-minute warning, meaning it's going to disconnect here in about 5 minutes. So we still got some time. But I want to thank all the schools for their outstanding questions. Great last question, by the way, too. Mr. Little, do you have any last remarks? Anything maybe we didn't talk about, or anything you'd like to say in closing?
Well, I think there's some great questions. I think these young people have the right idea and the right motivation to succeed. But my closing questions and my closing statements to them is, try to always be the best that you can be. Don't be a follower, be a leader. Find something you like to do and pursue it with all the vigor that you can. And be a role model, be a mentor, help other people, understand these 6 pillars of character, learn them, be a part of them, have them a part of you on a regular basis. Be that person that's the leader, not the follower. As I said, surround yourself with people that want what you want, that will challenge you, and to challenge yourself every day. And never say never. There's always hope and opportunity if you believe in it strongly enough. So, and just know this in closing, that it's not always that person with the IIQ that gets ahead. It's that person with the positive attitude that makes the most money, that get the promotions, that get the raises. So you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just have to have the best attitude if you want to succeed in life.
If all the schools can unmute your mics for the time being and join me in saying thank you and giving a warm round of applause for Mr. Little today. And on behalf of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Mr. Little, I'd like to say thank you for taking time out of your day. I know even though you're retired somewhat, I guess, taking time out of your day, I know you're still involved with a lot. So I want to say thank you to you. I also, again, want to say thank you to Seattle Public Schools, the administration there, for allowing us to do this at their high school, Rainier Beach High School. Thanks to the folks at Rainier Beach. Thanks to our friends at Cisco, at Tamberg, as well as our friends at ETAC Ohio and Columbus. So thank you for everyone for making this such a great program, and this concludes that program. Thank you.